And welcome everyone. Welcome to the Forge Coffee Break. So today's episode number 7, and this is an open space for Forge topics, for questions, for if any questions or doubts or specific API questions you have. And my name is Augusto Gonçalves. I'm part of the Forge Advocates team. And today I have a lot of people coming, and thank you all for joining us today. I think we have 8 or 9, yeah. And I see a lot of names that are coming for a few times now. Again, thank you for joining us. It's been a very pleasure time to have you here. And it's like very foggy in California now with all the wildfires, but it's not. It's still dark outside, and but we're all good here, hopefully. And let's start with you. How are you doing? Hope you're having a productive last few weeks. Anything that you would like to bring up or share with the rest of the group? As you can see, I have a new background. Now I'm pretending I'm at the office now. This used to be my view, not my view, right? One of the views of the office, and just a way to remember that old life. I was joking with a colleague last week that we had this accelerator in San Francisco in January, and I was thinking, wow, January, that was like 5 years ago. And now we are warming up for another virtual accelerator coming in 2 weeks. That's the Asgard coming in 2 weeks. By the way, let me open that here. It's coming soon. I was just looking at the calendar. In 2 weeks, that's the Asgard. Nice sky, the opposite from California. And again, that will coincide with our next coffee break. And hopefully, the last coffee break, we had a lot of attendees from the Rapa Nui joining us on the conversation. And in 2 weeks, we'll have, again, Asgard attendees joining us. So let me stop talking for a moment. Anything from you, questions or topics that you'd like to bring up?
This is Mani speaking. Thank you very much, Augusto. We appreciate it. I've invited quite a few people from our side, and they'll be joining in the next few minutes.
Cool.
Our first
Thank you.
question is SVF2. Is there any update on the status of when that is going to be released?
Well, there is a beta going on. So if you go back to our blog, there is a call for beta testers. I think we actually discussed that. Yeah, call for private beta SVF performance enhancements. So what you have to do is to come here, and there is a email alias forge svf2 testers at autodesk.com that you can submit your information, and we can include you on the private beta. So it's going on. It's ongoing. Sorry, and there is a lot of people testing, and we see a lot of good improvements. So yeah, if you wanna be part of the beta, just send us a message.
Sure. I somehow I missed this.
And just one point that was interesting here is that SVF2 runs with. There's a lot of improvements. One of the improvements is to have WebSocket connection between Forge and Forge server and your application. So instead of having HTTP connection, we have WebSocket. Well, the benefit is that we can transfer data faster because we don't have to do the full handshaking for HTTP connection. So it's a bit faster to establish to get additional data, right? And we are learning from the beta testers where are the customers, so we can make sure that the CloudFront servers are very close to our customers. So we are now changing where we are putting the CloudFront instances, or how to host the data to make sure that it's close enough to the customers, so the WebSocket will work better. So what I'm saying with that is thank you for testing, thank you for giving us feedback. That's the kind of information we're looking for. So is that your question, Mani?
Yes, thank you. I was just putting a message to our team so we can join the testing.
All right, cool.
Hey, August. So SVF2 does also work offline as current SVF format?
So on this on this release right now, or this first rollout of the SVF2, we are not supporting offline workflows because of this WebSocket connection. I don't know yet what will be the future plan. It's still to be decided. So, for everyone on the call, it is possible to download the viewables and serve that from your local server. There are some benefits and disadvantages on that. You can you can no, make the consideration, and with SVF2, because of this, the way the data is served, right? It's not possible to download everything from to your local server and then go from there. So we are looking into if that will be possible, and hopefully we'll have more information soon.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Yeah. One of the interesting pieces is that now with SVF2 coming to BIM 360, right? Everyone will take advantage of SVF2 translations without any change on their code, right? And that's one of the big benefits of always working online with Autodesk, connected to Autodesk, not offline, because as soon as we release new features like this, you automatically get all of those improvements, right? So we are always working to improve the viewer and how we handle, how we translate, etc. And that's the benefit of working connected to Autodesk. One of the many benefits. Yeah, thank you for your question, Fernando.
So as a feedback, right this week we had some preparations for a customer discussion, and this was exactly this discussion. Can we have a purely offline viewer? And we know we can with SVF. I wasn't totally aware of the SVF2 so far, but this is definitely still a issue for some customers, and to adapt the other Autodesk technology together with the SVF2 or with the SVF viewer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long process, right? Moving from files to non-files to offline to online. Different companies, different stages of that process. We know that a lot of companies will never change because of whatever reason they have, and yeah, that's why we are working to support all of the possible workflows. And again, the feedback is really important. If you believe that SVF2 is a must-have to work offline, send that feedback. If you give us the business case, the information about the customer, why they need it, so we can put that on a priority. It's all about priorities, right? We have so many things to do,
of course,
all of us, and it's a matter of selecting what should we do first.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you, Stefan. What else? What else is going on from our side? We released a few new things over the last couple weeks. I was just selecting here. One that it's been asked for a very long time on BIM 360 is about custom attributes. Now that we have a public beta for it, when you have a custom attribute on one document, companies usually use that kind of information to have additional to host additional data and sometimes control the flow, control who is doing what, know where the file is on a stage of reviewing. So that information was already there on BIM 360 for a long time. But now we have the API to access that information and get part of that, and that should help us automate a few processes. So there is a beta going on, and if you're working with BIM 360 and custom attributes, that's your time to look at it. Anyone using BIM 360 or doing connections like that?
We are doing a little bit of right now evaluation for a customer who might use it for the collaboration processes.
Okay, cool. Do you know what they're doing? What kind of integrations they're or workflows how they are
It's mainly about Plan 3D right now,
Plan
and
3D.
yeah, and the question was if this could be a way to use for collaboration.
Great, yeah. So now this is a way to track the information and how it moves. So it's quite interesting. So let me open back to you. People have been very shy today. Any other questions, topics you like to ask? And as you can see, it's early morning and my daughter is talking a lot.
Question for you, Augusto. We often go back and forth in terms of recommending how to upload BIM models into the Forge viewer to our customers around two notions. One, sometimes MEP coordination is happening while they're using, system like ours. What that means is that they want to keep updating their models independent from one another. So they tend to upload, let's say 10, 20 models at the same time. Then alternatively, they can ask him, hey, it would be better if you combine them and maybe upload, let's say, Navisworks files as opposed to 10 Revit files. Is there any optimization being done in terms of how we might be able to keep the files completely separate? Because right now, I think when you have multiple models loading into the Forge viewer, they load sequentially as opposed to creating that core and then do the progressive rendering applied to multiple models. Is there any optimization done, or you have any recommendations on best practices on how to address that?
So, well, the truth is that Navisworks is a great aggregator of files, and it does an excellent job optimizing files, right? But the challenge is that if you want to synchronize or to merge or to aggregate your files using Navis, it will be most likely a manual process, and it can be time consuming, right? Depending on how you do it. But if you have the option, or if you can do a pre-processing of your file using Navis, that is by far the best option, right? Because Navis desktop will optimize a lot of stuff before you go into the viewer. If you go with the files from Revit to the viewer, we don't have that Navis optimization, right? But we have less work manipulating the files, and we have the original data from the Revit and the linked files. So yeah, I mean, if you're purely looking into performance, load into Navis, clean up, optimize there, and then go to the viewer. That can work. So just to give an example, right? When the model is not changing that often, so you just have to do it once, right? But if the model is always changing, then yeah, Revit is the way, because you don't want to do that manually all the time. Yeah, the pre-optimization that Navis can do, it's really powerful. And if you look in the industry of in the visualization industry, right? Navis is kind of the benchmark. So if something is as good as Navisworks, then it's very good, right? Because that's the benchmark most of the viewers have out there, including the Forge viewer. So
yes, the problem we have with that is really associated with the external IDs for Navisworks files, because when the customers start uploading various files into Navisworks and Navisworks file goes to the Forge Model Derivative API, these external IDs may not remain consistent. So if you have any recommendation on maybe keeping those external IDs consistent, then that addresses our problem. We don't mind, telling people to upload Navisworks, but we want to make sure that the IDs would remain the same if they make changes.
Yes, well, yeah, that can change because of the way they connect the files. Because Navis will use its own way of remapping the IDs. So yeah, that can change. So if maintaining the IDs is important, yeah, stick with the Revit file. You will not have the same kind of performance. I mean, by the way, have you tried open those models with SVF2? Is still the same problem?
With SVF2, you said? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yes.
No, we've
Have you
not.
tried? Okay.
We've not yet.
That can be one way to try. Try SVF2 first. Maybe that will solve your problems. If the file is hosted on BIM 360, only I think the only files uploaded after no, I think a couple months ago have the SVF2 translation by default. So you may have to upload them again, but maybe the SVF2 will help you handle that. Yeah.
That's great. I will definitely check it out. Thanks.
If your file is hosted on BIM 360, there is also the chance that you already have the SVF2 running, right, in BIM 360. The beta that we are running right now, it's really for files that you upload to buckets. For BIM 360, you don't have control over SVF2. The system will decide how to handle that.
Hi,
Yeah,
can I
thanks
ask
for your
something
question, by
much
the way.
more basic?
Yeah, go ahead, Vid. Nice to
Yeah.
see you again here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm trying to just very basically write files to BIM 360, but I'm looking for a way to do it without a user logging in. So I've been using this method that you demonstrated in one of your examples to maybe myself log in once and then keep track of the refresh token and then use it to maintain access for up to 15 days. But is there either a more hands-free way or an easier way?
Okay. You can call the APIs using a two-legged. Let me open up here. So if you go to the data management API and go to the API reference, and what is it? The endpoints will have, let me get a random one, right? The endpoints will have this X user ID header, right? And here you can pass the user ID of the user that you are trying to impersonate in that case. So you can do a two-legged authentication instead of three-legged, and then say, okay, now I'm uploading or accessing files using impersonating that specific user. So you need the Oxygen ID or the user ID for that user, right? So it's like doing a three-legged, but with two-legged, and you only need to know the user ID. Make sense?
Okay, I have a question, if I
Yeah,
may.
sure.
So I have a little bit more, let's say, high level or almost philosophical question, like, and it's a little bit tangential to Forge. So I see naturally that Plant 3D and PNID keeps popping up, and basically I would like to ask all of you for some good practices and you, Augusto, for Autodesk's take on the stuff. So basically, I would love to use more or less cloud-based or Forge-based approach for this, but obviously we have quite a heavy workload, automated workload in PNID. And for this, I really need a CI/CD approach with some automated testing, etc., etc. So obviously from my question last week, it seems that it would be hard to run it in a way that's unattended, automated on Forge, whatever. So it seems that I would need to use some kind of a virtual machine. So number one, how does this look from licensing perspective? So ideally, I would like to integrate it with for example, Azure pipeline. You know, those our automated PNID pipelines. PNID, Plant 3D being very opinionated, needing the databases and crazy stuff, running, you know, in some container virtual machine, and then we have some kind of a certainty about the stability of the software. So number one, how does this look from licensing perspective? Doesn't break like business interests of Autodesk? And number two, maybe any one of you guys had some experience with marrying, you know, such CI/CD approaches for Autodesk products, especially in the context of Azure Cloud or Azure with Forge, and maybe what's the path for your development there, like making it easier, etc.
So I'll leave for others to contribute first. I know that some people here work with PNID first before, right? But okay, so let me start with the license then, right? I would suggest you to look at the EULA file that comes with your with your product, that will describe what kind of scenarios that you can run locally or in a server, right? It usually requires the user to be to be using the machine. But then the next and big question is if the process you want to run can be automated in Plant3D. Not all of our products can run in this unattended mode because there are some UIs or interface that require a user to click on something to do a task, right? So I think the actual big question is if your process can be really automated or not. And if it can, even if you automate the process, you have to make sure that we will run over and over, right? So because you're processing thousands or hundreds of files, so you have to make sure that we will run smoothly. We are just releasing Civil 3D as part of design automation. I think we discussed that a few weeks back. And one of the reasons that Civil 3D was able to onboard design automation is because the API for Civil was, we started working on that API for a long time ago, splitting the interface and the database, right? And I know that the Plant3D API is not splitted like that. So it's not fully splitted. There are some pieces that you can work, some other pieces that you cannot work with in batch mode. So that work is still ongoing. I don't know when it will be ready, but it's still ongoing to split the APIs, right? And once we have it, then Plant3D, PNID can run in batch mode. That may happen in the future, right? So what I'm saying is maybe your process cannot run in batch mode because of the APIs you require.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, it can fortunately run in batch mode, but once again, I would in the future would love to be able to run it, officially in Forge and to close the CI/CD process to stabilize the software, stabilize the pipeline. So please put it up a notch in your priorities. That will be really, really helpful because these are important files as all of them are, and yeah, this would be great. Thanks.
So what I would suggest you, if you can, is to send us some business information on why you need Plant3D support. What's the opportunity that you are working with? What's the customer? What kind of workflows we are trying to solve? And send that to forge.help@autodesk.com. So, we need that kind of feedback to understand better. So we know what our customers are using. But when it comes to developers like ourselves, this is the channel to provide us the information, right? We know a lot of customers using Plant3D, PNID, but what about developers? We need that kind of information to decide, okay, it is time to work on Plant3D. So yeah, that information will be very helpful. Please, if you can, please share.
I can and I will. Thanks. Makes
Thank
sense.
you.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I was just looking here for a question from Mark. He was asking, is it possible to call my own REST API from within Design Automation, or does it run in a sandbox and it cannot have access to the external world? So Design Automation, as of today, it runs on a completely isolated sandbox. So you provide the input, the process will run, and in the end you get the output. During that process, you cannot contact outside Design Automation. So that's what it is today. I know that the team is working to see or to investigate if it's possible or how would be possible to send data in and out to Design Automation during the processing, right? So there is an ongoing investigation on it. I don't know if or when this will be available. Just so you know, we're working or researching on it because this is a highly demanded feature. But today, you have to provide all the data at the beginning, and that's actually not a bad idea. If the data that you need to provide takes time, because Design Automation, you are paying by the hour that you run. So it's better to collect all the data that you need first and then just run the process, right? So you don't have to waste time connecting to external services. So that's how it is today. You provide all the data at the beginning, run it, and get the data in the end. And thanks for your question, Mark. Yes.
That's one of the issues that I have at the moment. We create configure it just on the Inventor. So at that time, I got access like a Vault for the number generator. I got access to SQL servers for data, extracting data. But I don't always know upfront which data I'm going to need. So how should I provide that information to Forge? So that's an interactive process, and yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, that's why this is a highly demanded feature to have access to external data. But yeah, I mean, at this point, you have to provide the entire database or the entire data that you may need during that processing.
Okay.
Yeah, we are working on it to get something there. It's tricky because you don't want to allow full access or uncontrolled access because that can be that can be dangerous. So that's why we are investigating how we can enable that feature. Yeah, thank you, Mark. Good question. Cool. So what else is going on? Let me look here. Oh, I have one more. We are finishing a few expired or trial accounts. You may have received some of those messages. It's just because if you have it, it means that, or it may mean that your account is still on trial. Especially very old Forge accounts, right? So what's important is to make sure that your account is run on subscription, not on trial. And if your account it's okay, it's out of trial, then it should be fine for you. And if, as usual, if you have any questions about your account, or if you don't see your subscription going on, or your subscription within Autodesk, feel free to contact us and ask us more questions. The way you can see it is to go to your account and see that your trial is in progress or expired, right? That should give you some information. Just something that is going on over the last week. So let me see what else you have. Any other questions from you? Any other interesting topics?
I have a question.
Go ahead. Oh,
I was
hi, Eric.
wondering, hey, since you guys released Civil 3D design automation like 2 months ago, are there any updates on some new API functionalities to it?
So since the release or the beta, right? Since the beta is started, the engine is the same. We should release the new engine version as soon as the AutoCAD engine is also updated. So remember that the design automation is the same engine, right? So as soon as we have AutoCAD 2021.1 is an update, then that will go to design automation as well. But the API have not changed. For Civil 3D, the API have not changed.
Okay.
Is there any request that you made? I'm trying to remember if you made any specific request or something that is missing that you needed.
Yeah, there's when I was going to documentation for the Civil 3D API from there, I noticed that when you try to extract a segment from a parcel, you're not able to get a handle ID associated to that segment. Meaning that if I dig into the parcel object, I cannot get the feature segment ID associated to it. So it's kind of like a missing link on there or something.
I see. Okay.
One of my.
Yeah, so we probably have to investigate that. I would say that if the handle ID is not there, it's probably because that entity inside AutoCAD or inside Civil is not an independent entity. Therefore, it doesn't have a handle. That's probably the reason. Have you reported that to us?
Yeah, I did. I also reported it to one of the developers.
Okay.
On the AutoCAD forum.
Okay.
About it, and they're using COM objects to work the way around that situation. So you mentioned that you in this design automation API for Civil 3D, you guys cannot handle COM, right?
Yes.
COM objects. Okay.
So may I ask you to send me the link to that forum post so I can double check what's happening?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Good. I'll send that to you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Right, so it's already our time. So yeah, thank you all for coming today. That was a very interesting discussion. Thank you all for coming. I think that's the number 7, right? The next coffee break will be happening in 2 weeks. That will again coincide with the Forge Accelerator. The next one is the Asgard. If you have a project with Forge that you want to work and speed up, accelerate, that's your chance to join us. And the next coffee break will have all the attendees from the accelerator. That will be a chance also to see what they're doing. We are planning a lot of cool stuff for AU this year. So AU will be virtual, and there's a lot of events going on with the AU. And hopefully by the next coffee break, I'll be able to share some of that information with you. We are planning to do a hackathon around that, so stay tuned for more information and join us on the next coffee break for more information. September 27, next in 2 weeks, Wednesday again, same time. See you there. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you too.
bye.
Bye.
See you.